your certification in human rights. I know your specificality lies on your interest is in women's rights and pushing the girl child education.
Yes.
But on the aspect of human rights, don't you think it infringes on their human rights and every individual should have a say on what they do with their personal bodies?
No, this question falls directly into my trap. That is not a human right. That's a human madness. To advocate for homosexuality or lesbianism is abnormal. I mean, that's my personal position. I'm a Muslim. Islam doesn't accept it in any way. But Islam respects human rights, but not this kind of absolute madness.
Hello and welcome to another episode of World Achievers on RMC TV with me, Nana Mofoiwa Enchi. And yes, it's another day to feel happy and a day to be blessed. I am blessed because today I'll be having a conversation with a very dignified man who has contributed a lot, who has given a lot to the education sector in Ghana and in Africa as a whole. So let's go for a quick break. We'll be right back with my guest. Hello and welcome back from the break. If you just tuned in, you're watching RMC TV, the World Achievers edition with me, Nana Mofoiwa Enchi. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And just as I was saying earlier, today I'll be having an interesting conversation with a dignified personality. Yes, I say dignified because this is a man who has given 32 years of his life to the Ghana education sector. Yes, he was a former member of parliament for the Chogu Tishegu Constituency in the northern region. Yes, the first parliament actually. He was also part of the committee that drafted the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which we are using to date. He was also the former regional director of education for Volta and Northern Region. So this is a man of many names. He's known as Honorable Alhaji MOHAMMED HAROON, but he's popularly known to many as Cambodia. Thank you so much, Honorable, for honoring our invitation and being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you're doing well.
Doing very fine.
Great.
And you are always welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. So why Cambodia? A lot of people, today I was surprised to hear someone call you Cambodia. It's quite a popular name. So what came, like, how did the name come up, Cambodia?
It's a very long story.
Yeah.
This happened in 1972.
Wow.
When I went to secondary school from 1 at the Navrongo Secondary School, now Navrongo Senior High School. I used to wear a shirt, t-shirt, which I used for practicing basketball. You know, I played basketball up to the university level.
Nice.
And I was among the GUSA team, Ghana University Sports Association team. That's basketball. And I started it in the Navrongo Secondary School because I had learned it from Kamina Barracks, where we were following the soldiers, you know, who played basketball, and we learned a lot from them. So when I wore that T-shirt, it was an advertisement T-shirt advertising the Cambodian Airlines, and the T-shirt on it was the writing, "Fly the friendly skies of Cambodia." So anytime I wore it, I was playing basketball. Anytime I made a basket, the students in the room would shout, "Cambodia." Well, that's why I say it's a long story. I didn't like it at first, but as I fought it, it became widespread in the school. So that is how it overtook my name. And I had to accept it, nilly-willy.
Yes, apparently it has really overtaken your name. But how do you feel about it now? Are you okay when people call
I'm
you
okay with
Cambodia?
it because I felt Muslims should not have nicknames, but upon inquiry, higher Muslim clerics told me it was not a bad thing because it's not after a god. You know, in Islam we call something shirk. When you associate some gods to Allah. So this one is not the name of a god or something. So it was okay. And I just decided to keep it. And now people feel if I do even a right tap and I don't add Cambodia, people will not believe that I'm the one. If I just put Mohammed Haroon, people will know I'm the one. That's how come.
Right, thanks. So, how was it like growing up in Tamale, in the northern region? How was it like for you growing up?
Growing up in Tamale, I'm just in my autobiography. I was a little child around 5, 6 when I was given to my grandfather, who was a chief, Changna Yaku. So I was there looking after his cattle until he died in 1964. Then his funeral was performed in 1965, and I was given back to my parents. We called it fostering. I was a foster child, and I was a child among 8 children of my mother and father, and one had to be given to the mother's side, and I happened to be the one who was the sacrificial lamb for that, you know. So after his death, I came back to Jisonayele, Tamale, and I went to school in 1966. So that's how come I went to school late.
Oh, right. Now let's move on to your career. For those watching, Mr. Haroon or Honorable Haroon was the Regional Director of Education for the Volta region and the Northern region, Tamale specifically, meaning you've served 2 distinct regions. What was it like for you when you were serving your time as a regional director? What are some challenges you came across?
Yes, when I went for the interview for Director 1, it was Volta region that was vacant. I know in Ghana Education Service, they promote according to available vacancies. Right. No, they won't promote you to Director 1 and you won't have a region. So at that time, the Volta region was the vacant region. So I was posted to Volta region. That's how I went there, and I started doing very well there. In fact, when I was leaving Volta region in 2015, there was a lot of protests. But I was looking at appreciative inquiry. You see, when I compared Volta region performance and certain aspects of education in Volta region looked to have some advantages of a northern region. So I felt that I would have been more useful in northern region to bring the region up to the standard of other regions. And so I decided that I should go to Volta region when the northern region became vacant. So that's how I was transferred to northern region. And that was in 2015, and I was there until 2019 when I retired from the Ghana Education Service.
Okay, Honorable, sorry for cutting you, but before you became a regional director, you mentioned how you got your first degree and then your MPhil as well. What were you doing before becoming a regional director? Where were you teaching?
First of all, I did my national service with the Institute of Adult Education, the University of Ghana, before I went to teach in the Bagabaga Training College. Now they are colleges of education, but at that time it was training college. I was there teaching psychology, sociology, history of education, and sometimes cultural studies. I taught there from 1987 to 1991, when I was made a headmaster. There's a school in Tamale called 1st November 1954 Junior High School, which is a diplomatic school, which was built by the government of Algeria. When they finished it, I was at Bagba Training College. The then regional secretary, the late John Bauer, said he didn't trust anybody to head the school apart from me. If not me, then any person they send will embarrass first of all, the Northern region and Ghana at large. I was the only one who could live up to expectation. That's how come I was appointed the first headmaster of that school in 1991. Then I was there when the whole world was pressurizing Flight Lieutenant General Rawlins that we should go democratic. Right. So there was a need for a consultative assembly to be constituted to draft the 1992 constitution. And I was an assembly member for Jisonaye Norif in the Tamale Municipal Assembly. And it happened that assemblies which were municipal had to elect 2 people to the consultative assembly. Those which were districts had elected 1. So Tamale elected 2 of us to represent the Tamale Municipal Assembly in the constitution. That's how come I'm a member of the Constitutional Assembly, and we drafted the 1992 Constitution, which was approved through a referendum. And and it has stood the test of time. Over 30 years, it has not been disrupted. So I can say that I'm also one of those who drafted the 1992 Constitution.
That's very honorable.
After the referendum, there was that huge outcry by the youth of Tamale that they wanted me to go to Parliament, because they knew if I went to Parliament, whatever was due Tamale or my constituency would get to them. So that's how, by acclamation, it wasn't money. If it were money, I couldn't have been an MP. But it was integrity. They were looking at virtues. They were looking at your background, and this is why the youth just said they wanted me, and I stood on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress, because I was one of the cadres. I had worked very hard for the system. So when I stood for the elections, we were 3 parties that stood for that constituency, and I happened to win. And that's what sent me to Parliament. From 1993 to 1996-97, I served 1 term, after which I went back to my profession. I'm a professional educationist. Then I came back to Tamale, then Metro Assembly. I applied and went back to the Ghana Education Service. I was given the role of guidance and counseling coordinator. I did it for some time, and I was changed a schedule to welfare. From welfare, they changed my schedule as I was promoted to human resource manager. Then from human resource, I became a deputy director in charge of administration of the municipal office, education office, until I went for an interview and I passed for Director 2 position, and I was posted to West Mamprisi district. And at that time, Walwali was my station. So I was in Walwali, West Mamprisi district education director for 5 years until 2014, when I passed the interview for Director 1. And that is regional directorship. And I was sent to Volta region. So that's how come I went up to that level.
Okay.
Yes.
Particularly, you've mentioned a lot of factors that I'm interested in, which is you being a member of the Committee of the Constitution. And talking about your life's work, I've realized that instances where you don't go for positions is bestowed upon you. People call you for that.
Yes.
So dive into that, but let's go for a quick break. We'll be back. With me, Nanamo, for you are Angie, and I'm here with Honorable Mohammed Haroon, known to many as Cambodia. Hello, sir. Welcome back. Okay, so
Thank
we
you.
were talking about being a part of the committee that drafted the Constitution. How was it like drafting the 1992 Constitution? Because at that time we were under military regime. So how did you feel drafting? Did you were you scared that were you scared about including certain things, that certain things wouldn't be accepted? How was it like?
I was very enthusiastic because I had been in the cadre front. I had been a member of the revolution at the grassroots level. So when it happened that we had to go democratic, it was as a result of wealth pressure. So even though some of us felt reluctant, there was that opposition that we should go democratic. During the drafting of the Constitution, we played a role because we were just coming from a revolution, and some of the revolutionary ideas and ideals were in some of us. They were imbibed in some of us, such as honesty, not stealing government monies. I mean, so many things, not to be fraudulent. So these were the ideas that propelled us into the Constitution. So if you look at the 1992 Constitution, we tried to make sure that there would be no corruption among ministers. And that was why we put it that 2/3 of the ministers should come from among members of parliament. There was a reason, and I was a serious advocate for that, because the previous democratic dispensation, ministers who were just appointed disrespected the constituents because they were not responsible to the constituents. So we wanted people who were ministers to be elected members so that they will give attention to the constituencies. You know, if the president just likes somebody and then appoint that person, the person thinks that his or her loyalty goes to the president and not the constituents. But we wanted the grassroots people to have control, to have a say in whatever the minister was doing.
Okay, but Honorable, sorry to cut you. Right now, a lot of the youth are looking at, most people are calling for a reform of the 1992 Constitution, and most people are of the view that legislators playing the role of legislation, and then the executive, the ministry, is having that double, makes them too powerful, and there's no separation of powers. What is your thoughts? What is your take on that? And if you are to be called upon today to help draft a new constitution, what are some of the things you think you would add on?
In a real democracy, there's a saying that majority carries the vote, but minority interest should not be neglected. Even though a lot of people are crying for this, some of us still feel that responsibility. Ministers who are not elected, they look down upon the electorate with disdain, because you didn't put me there, it was the president who put me there. So if you are elected and you misbehave, the next time the election goes, they will throw you out. That was the caution that we were trying. I know there were some conservatives who were against the revolution, and they were against what we put in the constitution from the beginning. Now that we have tried it for 30 years, those conservationist people, they have come out with all this crying for what they wanted. You know, when we were writing the constitution, a certain caliber of people were not interested in it. They even boycotted it. And now that it has stabilized, they are raising their heads just to make sure that they continue with what they wanted. The status quo prevails. So if they say it should be amended, fine. We don't have any problem. It can be amended, because constitutions are amendable.
Right.
When you try a certain constitution for a length of time, you see what may be good about it or wrong about it. Then you have, that's why we have constitutional amendment. They call for where it should be amended so that to satisfy the majority of the people in the country.
Okay, Honorable, so today in 2025, what are some additions you would have made to the existing 1992 Constitution? Right now, people are calling for affirmative action, which has been passed.
No,
the RTI bill has also been added as well. And recently, the anti-gay bill, that's some part.
a women's rights activist and a child rights, especially girl rights. I have gone, after graduation, I had to go to The Hague in Holland to do a certificate, postgraduate certificate in human rights, and I specialize in women and girl rights, as well as economic rights. So these are the things I want. So if you are saying there should be some kind of gender equity and social inclusion, I like that. That's where we should include women, because women need economic rights to exert themselves. It's only when the women are dependent on the men that the men suppress them. It's only when women haven't had very good education that the men suppress them. And in Ghana, there is no discrimination between a woman graduate and a man graduate. We are treated equally. It's not so in other, even advanced countries, because we all take equal pay. So after that kind of gender equality in Ghana, it is superb. But there are certain issues that we could. But you see, if it comes to the gender equity, I don't believe in appointing women into parliament. It's supposed to be democratic. So we are encouraging women to exert themselves so that they can win elections and go to parliament. Some are proposing that the constitution should reserve a certain number of seats for women. No, you can't be an MP on a silver platter.
Now the equality is not being established on both ends.
So that is my position on that. Then also, this anti-gay people or pro, I think it is abnormal. No human being will support that man should marry a man, a woman should marry a woman. Anybody who is thinking that should be sent to the psychiatric hospital. That is my position. It is abnormal. So,
Honorable, having your certification in human rights, I know your specificality lies on your interest is in women's rights and pushing the girl child education.
yes.
But on the aspect of human rights, don't you think it infringes on their human rights, and every individual should have a say on what they do with their personal bodies?
No, that is not a human right. That's a human madness. To advocate for homosexuality or lesbianism is abnormal. That's my personal position. I'm a Muslim. Islam doesn't accept it in any way. But Islam respects human rights, but not this kind of absolute madness.
Well, some people are of the view that the bill supports discriminating against them and harassing and all that, and calls for their arrest. You are mentioning that the Islam supports human rights. So you have also shared your personal view, but what do you think should be done to such people to help them, for all of us to live harmoniously in a community?
I feel that such people need some treatment. They need some medical treatment. That's what we can do for them. But not to say human rights, they should go ahead and do that. What is going to happen to humanity? Can a man ever become pregnant? No. And those who are asking for this kind of rights, you see them using children to do some jobs for them. If other women didn't bring forth those people, where would they have come from to help you? Or can you think a woman can impregnate another woman? That's why I say it is against humanity, the establishment of humanity. Are they trying to say that they want to eliminate human beings from the world? Because if these things are allowed to go on for some years, then there will be no human beings. Because those who are practicing gayism, lesbianism, they are all going to die, and there will be no children to take up life in the world. So that's why I say it's not a right, it's an abnormality.
Right. So now let's dive into your interest in promoting the girl child education and women's rights. I would like to know where that interest forward from, why women's rights, and on the issue of gender equality and how you mentioned that they receive equal pay. In Ghana, statistics have shown that in several institutions, even in my profession in the media, most women are subjected to superficial roles such as presenting and anchoring and not much into managerial positions or even technical positions like photography and whatnot. And statistics have also shown that most women, the pays are not the same. Some women may be in the same role as their male counterparts but are not paid the same. And Tamale, the northern region, specifically has that sort of societal norms where men are considered the head and women are subjected to the background, sort of. So I want to know where your passion for women's rights came about and your role as regional director in two distinct regions. How did you foster women's rights and girl child education in your role as regional director?
These are some of the challenges. You see, naturally, people have grown up culturally to know that the man is in charge. It's the man who marries the woman and not the vice versa. So if you marry a woman, you pay the dowry. It goes with responsibilities. We Muslims, in a wedding ceremony, the two of them getting married are counseled the role of the man and the role of the woman. So that when you marry, you know how to treat each other equally well. They each have their rights. So it will be abnormal for me to say, and it's not generally in the northern part of Ghana, where we just feel that women are not marginalized. If you look at things very well, it is rather protective of women. But it's the Western influence that is looking at it. If you look at time immemorial, from the Greco-Roman era through to the birth of Christ, Christianity, what they are now advocating as against human rights, they were human rights.
But Honorable, in the northern region, I don't know if things have changed recently, but somewhere in the past, women could not even own lands or farmlands. I learned if a woman wants to own a land, it's not being sold to them. They would have to go with their husbands. They can't even own lands in their name.
You see,
how has that changed over the
in
years?
the north, you see, people try to generalize. We have women chiefs, particularly in Dagbang, and they own land. So it's not general that women are not allowed to own land. Maybe in some parts of northern region I agree, but in Dagbang we have chiefs, and the chiefs own the land. But we have very few women who own the land. So if you want to build a house, to farm, you only have to get a token, cola nuts, and you go to the chief's palace, tell them that I have seen a land here which I want to build. That's all. Chief never sold land. It's just these days that the chiefs have started, selling lands and selling multiple times. One plot will be sold to so many. These are the changes, modern changes, and it makes some of the chiefs just to, I think it's immoral for some of the chiefs to involve in that. Tradition, they want us to follow tradition. Traditionally, a chief doesn't sell land, but they want us to follow the tradition now and allow them to sell land, which is contrary to the tradition. But a woman can own land. Naturally, women follow the head of the family, the men, to farm. In our traditional setting, when the man cultivates land, there are certain crops that are planted on the same land but meant for the women, like ingredients, vegetables. When the man makes a farm, there are certain portions these things are planted or sown, and they are meant for the woman. When it comes to a time, women help in the harvesting, and they are given a portion. For instance, the woman harvests a number of bowls or calabashes or granules, she's entitled to 2 for herself. So this is the tradition. It's only when the tradition is not followed that you see all this as abuses.
Okay, Honorable. So back to your time as regional director, as a women's rights activist, how did you push that agenda? What are some initiatives you did to foster that the rights of women are protected and also to promote girl-child education in these regions?
I have taken care of so many girls who have dropped out of school. I've sent them to for further education. I've paid their fees even up to now. And this is the way you can bring girls out of that economic disadvantage. And also as a regional director, even not as a regional director, I cannot find a teacher abusing a girl. It's on record that I have gotten teachers imprisoned in northern region for misusing girls, for harassing girls. I have had some teachers imprisoned, arrested and imprisoned. So this is the way I'm fighting for the girls. And if any man, a teacher or any man is harassing a girl, unless it is not reported to me, I have had by force married girls seized from their husbands and sent to school. That is how that's what I mean by girls' rights. Yeah. Girls who were supposed to go to senior high school after JSS were forcefully married. I had to send police to go and arrest and seize the girls, and I had to send them to their uncles who were prepared to serve them. And they have become very responsible. Some of them have graduated and they are in higher positions.
So what fueled your interest in women's rights and girl-child education?
Naturally, I saw how girls were being abused, how girls were being marginalized in society. And it's not just Northern, the whole of the country. Girls have been marginalized, harassed, sexual harassment, physical abuse. And I have just last year, my own niece caned a girl who was given to her by her brother. I got her arrested and she was in prison for 6 months. She has been released. My own niece. The beating was recorded and it went viral. And one of my schoolmates in Edmonton in England, in London, saw it and then posted it to me. And when I watched it, I looked for that woman because they mentioned Jisona Ayele. And that's where I come from, that's where I was born, and that's where I'm, after my return, that's where I live. So immediately they mentioned Jisona Ayele, I went crazy. I had to go into the community to look for that woman. And they identified her. So I reported it to the CIDs. They came and arrested her. She was prosecuted and imprisoned for 6 months. But she has been released. She served the 6 months and she's back in Jisona Ayele as I talk.
That's good. That would serve as a deterrent for others, yes. So you served the Ghana Education Service for 32 years. I believe you know the ins and outs of the system. What is your comment on Ghana's education system as we speak now, the senior high school double track system? Before the previous government went out, they were looking at changing the curricula where there would be no WASI, and that senior high school students would write entrance exams to universities and all that. What do you think about
Yes, here this question falls directly into my trap because I'm one of the 15 educationists in Ghana who have established what we call TTEL, Transforming Teaching, Education and Learning in Ghana. And the TTEL, that is trying to transform education, especially secondary education. And we know what we are doing. Curriculum change is dynamic. The world is dynamic. When the world moves to a certain stage, and you are still behind with an outmoded curriculum, the products of education system will not fit globally. That is why now we are all trending what we call ICT, technology, and all those things. So if you don't go that way and you are still looking at the past, it means the products of the Ghana education system cannot be globally recognized. And that's why there's the need for the transformation. But we are not transforming only secondary education. I happen to be the TTEL ambassador to the 5 northern regions. So I'm deeply involved in the TTEL work. We are transforming education. We are now teaching teachers how to behave professionally. So we call it teacher professionalism. You could see teachers not behaving as professional teachers. We have now imbibed that in all teachers. First, we transformed the colleges of education, their curriculum, and then we made sure that they are now living with B.Ed, Bachelor's in Education, and no more a diploma. This is part of the transformation process. And this is raising the standard of education in Ghana. And we also have what we call Lively Minds. Lively Minds is using the playway method to transform education we call foundation education. That is what we are doing with Lively Minds. There we involve local women. Mothers are now teaching children in the classrooms. Yes, that is part of the Lively Minds strategy. Then we have Arising Academies. They are also into faster reading and faster mathematics. You realize that our educational system right now, the children even in senior high school are not able to read. Even the math is a problem. Meanwhile, in the modern world, these are 2 core subjects that you need to do well in order to pursue higher education. So we are trying to transform the pedagogy of teaching mathematics as well as English. And that's why you say faster reading and faster mathematics. There are also a pedagogy founded by one British called Paul Skidmore. So I happen to be the education consultant. So I'm involved in the 3 levels. I'm involved in the Rising Academies. I'm involved in Lively Minds as well as TTEL.
Okay, so you mentioned some strategies you're coming up with. So do you think the new curricula in the primary and secondary levels is preparing the Ghanaian child for success or to compete on the global level? Because there have been outcries by the youth that, including myself, that our curricula during our time didn't prepare us for the job market or to compete at the global stage. So with these transformations, are you looking at the Ghanaian child being able to do that?
Oh yeah, with the colonial legacy of education, we're just being prepared to be bookish. So what we learned was just bookish in nature. We're not being taught technical education. We're not being taught vocational education. But if you go to the UK, they were those days using and teaching all this, but we those in Africa, we were only being bookish with our technical. Now the whole world trend is about technical vocational education, because the government cannot employ everybody. Yeah, no jobs for all, because our curriculum was just bookish. This man or this girl can speak English very well. Speaking English very well cannot bring food to your table. Yeah. But if you do technical subject and you even do practical technical work, I have always told those in the technical institutes, if you are a painter, in Ghana there is no control price for painting a house. You charge the way you want. Yeah. There is no control price for a mason. If you build 3-bedroom house, this is what everybody must charge. That is the mason who will charge. So, but if I'm even a PhD holder, I'm teaching in the university, I have a salary. Yes. So you can see that the one who has done technical education in terms of financial support will be richer than the professor who professes bookish knowledge with a technical education.
I had an uncle who didn't want to go to school. I grew up hearing the story that he wanted to be a mechanic, and my other uncles all wanted to be doctors. And I told them that he will look dirty, but he will be very, very rich.
Yes.
So I think from a young age, he saw the vision earlier. We'll be wrapping up soon on our, but before that, there are some awards before us, and I know this is not even a quarter or even 1% of the awards and accolades that has been bestowed on you for your hard work. So I'll pick them one after the other. I think this is the African International Award, which was presented to you at Tema, and it was for your outstanding contribution to the development of African continent in the area of corporate governance and for distinguished excellence in service to humanity. And this is the medal for that as well. And then we have here the fellowship award for you being you being elected as a professional fellow of the Civilian Institute of Democratic Administration. We also have the Zeke International Knowledge, which was from Business Reports International. It's for your leadership. It's a leadership bold award presented to you in recognition of distinguished excellence in service to humanity for the promotion of unity and diversity in Africa. And this was given to you at Lagos, Nigeria. And I know you've won numerous awards in Dubai and other African countries as well. And even recently, you were a nominee, a finalist, actually, for the African Education Medal. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, this is, they wanted 10 best African educationists. And it is a group of people in Australia, in Argentina, in Italy. So the world has been divided into 3 zones. We have Asia, we have Africa, then Caribbean, Pacific. That includes America and all the Latino countries. That's very good. So every year they do interviews and they are able to come out with 10 best from Africa, 10 best from Asia, 10 best from the Latin American countries. It happened that in 2023 I was nominated, and I went through a series of interviews, Google interviews and written interviews. Then they call it long listing. I was long listed in the first place. Then after all this, I was shortlisted. I went through the Google interview, and I became one of the best 10 educationists in Africa. And that is what qualified me to go for the finals in Dubai, United Arab Emirates.
Congratulations, sir. I also
Thank
see you with a special Hall of Fame sash.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about it. There's a special star achiever from the National Youth
Authority. Yeah, that's the Ghana National Youth Authority. They have also been observing who has been mentoring the youth, who has been guiding the youth. And it happened that they monitored me for a long time, and they felt that I deserved an award for 2023. So I was called to the Hall of Fame of the National Youth Authority and inducted in 2023 at the Youth Home in Tamale. So that is the special star of achievers.
Congratulations on your award. I
Thank
commend you
so
so
I'm
much.
now in the
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame
Right.
for the youth in Ghana. And I've become a role model for the youth. And I have I'm to mentor the youth. Some youth apply to me so that I mentor them. And I do it sometimes on phone. Some come to my house, those around Tamale, they come to me. And some call me to schools and I talk to them. That's the mentorship.
Now, I forgot to mention you. I recently heard your comment you made on one Ekapim radio about Ghana electing its first vice president, female vice president. Do you think Ghana is ready for a first female president? Do you think Ghana is ready to elect its first female president in the years to come?
Yes.
With how far we've come in pushing affirmative action?
You know, the British will say that in for a penny, in for a pound. You start with something. This is the first time, it's unprecedented in the history of politics in Ghana that we have had a female vice president, not a candidate to elected. And if you look at the history of politics in Ghana, the history of politics in Ghana started from the western and central regions of Ghana, even during the colonial period. Where you trace the history of partisan politics, you go to 1786, you had the Aborigines Right Protection Society, you have the Fante Confederation, all started from the western and then central regions. Especially, I will say Fante land, because that is where the whites got enticed first. Yeah. The Portuguese, the Danes, the British were all in the castles there. So if you look at education, central region is the citadel of education, especially Cape Coast in Ghana, whether people like it or not, because it is difficult to say any other thing than that. So all education started.
Are you hinting that the first female president is likely that it would come from Cape Coast?
To come from Cape Coast or central region. And I can vouch that the first president, female president of Ghana will be Nana J. Opoku-Agyeman.
Wow. We will take you up on that.
Yes.
You heard it here first on RMC TV.
Yes.
Right.
And she happened to be an alumnus of Cape Coast University, of which I'm one. But I'm one. Yeah. So I'm very proud of Nana Opoku-Agyeman, being an alumnus of Cape Coast with me, and then becoming the first female vice president. And my prayer is that she becomes the first female president of the Republic of Ghana.
Yeah, you heard it here. Honorable Alhaji MOHAMMED HAROON is vouching and vying for Her Excellency. The first time ever we are seeing Her Excellency, yes, Professor Nana J. Agyeman, to hopefully one day be the first ever female president of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you so much for joining me here today, Say. And I know there's one question people fail to ask you. We know we talk about your awards, your achievements, and your work in the educational system. You've given 32 years of your life to the educational system in Ghana. You retired in 2019. So, Say, I ask you, how is retirement so far? How are you feeling being at home with a reduced workload? How has it been?
There's one particular award I've not mentioned which needs to be mentioned. Right. In 2008, I was called to Washington, D.C. in America, and I was given an award for services to humanity. Yes, I have the testimonials, the letters that they gave me as an award, because I coordinated the Millennium Development Goals Pilot Project in Ghana, in Morocco, that was in Casablanca, and Dushanbe in Tajikistan. Then we had Chicago and Louisville in the US. We did the pilot, and then I was sponsored by Bill Gates to Albuquerque in New Mexico to present my report to an international conference. And it was through that the Millennium Challenge account was established by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So I can say Ghana benefited. In Ghana, that was during the time of the former president, Ajekum Kufuor. Ghana benefited a lot from it, but people will not know the genesis of it. Yeah, so that is one award I just want to mention. Retirement. I'm retired, but I'm not tired. This is the time I'm even more occupied. Because like I mentioned earlier, TTEL is transforming education in Ghana, secondary education. I'm there. And we have Lively Minds, transforming early foundation education in Ghana. I'm part of it. Then we have the Rising Academies, which is transforming learning in mathematics and English. And I'm there too. So I don't seem to be a retiree. It's just that I'm no more on government payroll. I'm now an educational consultant, farewell education consult. I'm the principal consultant. And that's why all these three groups, I'm involved in consultancy work for them.
Right. Okay, so Honorable, we are wrapping up. A young child, female or male, may be watching. And throughout your life's work, you mentioned from listening to you, I can tell that some roles you didn't even vouch for, you didn't opt for, being the first member of parliament with the first parliament, being a part of the people who drafted the 1992 constitution. There were some people vouched for you, people called upon you, people mentioned your name. Can you advise a child growing up who wants to become like you, like your mentees who want to become like you? What does it take to become the next Alhaji MOHAMMED HAROON, aka Cambodia?
Well, my advice to the youth of Ghana and even Africa is that when growing up, try to be truthful, try to be honest, try to develop yourself morally, and adults will trust you. Once the adults trust you, they will send you everywhere. And I want to say that to be a role model, you should be a citizen instead of being an individual. We have a French philosopher, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who said that any antithesis between the education of a citizen and an individual is highly fallacious. People might not understand. What he's saying is that you start as an individual and you grow. The way you are, you study, you are studious, you are honest, you do what is expected of you, you have good morals, and when you grow up, everybody would like to associate with you. But if you become a drunk, you become a weed smoker, a hemp, and this day that tramadol, you twist your hair, and then you are roaming in the streets of whichever city you find yourself in the streets as a mad person, then you become an individual. Because you will never see somebody publicly looking at a madman and say, hey, that is mine. That is my uncle's child. But if you are a citizen, you are useful to society, people will connect, that is my grandfather's nephew's son, so that you belong to them. That's when we get citizenship. So I advise that we should all work towards being citizens instead of being individuals in society.
Much Honorable, it was an honor to have you here with me today, and Ghana thanks you for your service, all the years you've committed, all the hard work in pushing the education system, particularly girl child education in Ghana and in Africa. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in with me here today on RMC TV. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe. And you heard from Honorable Alhaji Mohammed HAROON. My young people watching, please remember to be citizens. Yes, be citizens who uplift and uphold the virtues of honesty and integrity, and it would pay you in due time. Thank you so much for watching. See you same time next week. Have a nice day.